class 6. Hope you all are doing well at home, helping your parents and at the same time studying. And please remember, don't go outside. You stay at home, you do all the work, whatever work has been assigned, whatever videos are being shown through the YouTube, make sure you go through all the videos for the various subjects and do your work accordingly. Well, today now we've come with a new chapter for your English literature, okay? And the title of the topic is The Snow Goose by Paul Gallico. So this is your 5th chapter for English literature. So you can open your textbook to page number 39 and read it, okay? So I will not be reading the entire story to you, but it is your work to read. I will just explain the story in summary, okay? But it is you who has to read through the textbook. Go through the textbook, look at the different words which you come across, look at the different expressions which are mentioned in the textbook. Now before I begin with the story, now let me tell you something about friendship. What is friendship? So friendship is the bond which you share with your friends. Now why do you need your friends? So especially at this age, now since you all are maybe around 11 to 12 years, now why do you need a friend? Why do you need a friend? Maybe some of you might be saying, well, I need a friend because I want someone to play with. Or some might say, I want to talk to someone, isn't it? And many a times also when you are going home or when you are coming to school, I often see many of you coming with your friends, isn't it? Because you can talk with your friends when you are coming to school, and when you are going home also you can go along with your friends. You can talk to your friends. And many a times I see some of the students waiting, and when I ask them a question, what do they say? They say they are waiting for their friends. Maybe the friends are held up somewhere. Maybe some assignment has been given to them, or maybe they are having extra classes, but the other friend is waiting patiently for the other friend, isn't it? That means there is a very close bond among the friends. So please remember that friendship is not only confined to young people or children like you all, but even people of our age, even your parents, even your grandparents, so they all have friends. So why do they have friends? They have friends so that they can share their joy, okay? Share their sorrow. And most importantly, when you have friends or when you have the company of friends, what happens is you will not feel alone. So there is no loneliness felt. So you enjoy the company of your families. So in this particular story, The Snow Goose, it is also about the friendship, okay? Friendship that existed among two individuals. And these individuals were different from one another. So the main character of the story is Rader, and then you have a 12-year-old girl by the name of Frida. So we are going to have a look at the friendship that developed among these two individuals. But before we begin with the chapter, now let's have a look at the author. So who was he? Who wrote this particular story? Now, The Snow Goose is by an author named Paul Gallico. Okay, so he was a short story writer, and besides that he used to write stories which dealt with different types of games or different types of sports, okay? And then he was an American writer. Now let's have a look at the picture of your author. So he is Paul Gallico. So he is the author of your story, Snow Goose, okay? Now let's have a look at something about the author, or let's know something about the author. So who was he? So Paul Gallico was an American novelist, short story and sports writer. That means he was an American writer, okay? And he used to often write short stories and stories which were related with the different sports. And the most interesting thing about the stories which he has written was that it used to touch the emotions of the individuals. It used to touch the feelings of the individuals. Or his stories were full of feelings, were full of emotions. Okay, so this is the story, The Snow Goose, which is written by the author Paul Gallico. Now, every now and then I am going on saying Snow Goose, but what is a snow goose? Let's have a look at what actually is a snow goose. Okay, now snow goose is a bird. A snow goose looks like this. Okay, now the snow goose is a species of goose native to North America. So usually these birds are found in North America. Okay, well, the snow goose is a species of goose native to North America. So usually these type of birds are found in North America. Okay, so your title itself is the Snow Goose. So without knowing what actually or how actually the bird looks like, now let's have a look at the picture. So this is how your snow goose looks like. Okay. Now this story, okay, it is a parable on the regenerative power of friendship. So parable means a story which has a moral or which has a spiritual value. And then it is the regenerative power of friendship. Regenerative power means the friendship that grew among two individuals. And who were those two individuals? One was Philip Rader, who is the main character of the story, and a small girl by the name of Frida. Okay, so now when you have a look at the picture of Philip Rader, okay, so his appearance did not please the people. That means he had a hunchback. That means there was some deformity in this particular individual. And then because of which he had to stoop very low, he had to bend very low, and at the same time his hands were also crooked. His hands were crooked, and instead of nails, his nails appeared like claws. I think you have seen a claw, isn't it? So some of the birds like the eagle, they have a claw. So why do they have claw? So that they can catch hold of the prey and fly it along with them, isn't it? Take it along with them. So he had this sort of disformity. So because of which he was living a secluded life. Secluded life means away from the rest of the individuals. So he was living, or he had purchased an old abandoned lighthouse. You can see the picture here. So what is a lighthouse? Especially in the olden days when people used to sail from one place to another, because the ships were the only means of transport when people had to travel from one place to another. Okay, so the sailors used to be in the vast open sea, and it would be very difficult to know whether they are approaching the land or not. So usually when people were in charge of these lighthouses, what they used to do is they used to shine the lights so that the sailors would know that they are approaching the land. So this a gentleman by the name of Philip Rader, he had started living a secluded life. Secluded life means he was living all by himself, and he was living in a lighthouse, abandoned lighthouse. And the only company which he had were the wild animals, or maybe the birds, because he had set up a sanctuary where he used to take good care of the birds. And then in order to pass his time, what he used to do was, he used to do a lot of paintings. Okay, he used to draw very beautiful pictures, and at the same time he used to go for boating. So he was a different kind of a man. But in the beginning, he was a very social individual. But because of his deformity, he had to move away from the people. He had to move away from the crowd, and he was leading a secluded life, a life of loneliness. But in this particular story, even though he was living a life of loneliness, now he develops a friendship with a small girl by the name of Frida. Okay, now this event of the story, okay, takes place in East English land, the marshes of Essex. That means in England. The story takes place in England. Okay. So now this particular individual by the name of Philip Rader, he had bought a lighthouse, an abandoned lighthouse, and he was living a lonely life, a life of loneliness. And the reason behind his loneliness was because of his deformity, handicapped, isn't it? Sometimes we often see handicapped people walking here and there, and what do we do when we see those type of handicapped people? Maybe we stare at them, or maybe we make fun of them, but is it good to do that? No, you shouldn't be doing. They are also God-gifted people, but maybe when they were being born, isn't it? Maybe some deformity was there. Maybe their bodies could not be formed in a proper way. Okay. So, because of this deformity, he was leading a secluded life. So, he was living his life all by himself. Okay. And then, because of his deformity, so he did not have any friends, he did not have anyone to talk to. So, he used to pass his time painting. He used to paint a lot of pictures. And not only that, he used to take care of the birds, because there were many birds who used to fly, isn't it? And then some of them might have been injured, or some of them might have been left by the rest of the flock, isn't it? And then they used to come to him because he had set up a sanctuary where he used to take good care of these birds, nurturing them or feeding them, or maybe if they were sick, he used to take good care of those birds. Okay. And then now what happened was, one day, okay, 3 years later after he had come to the lighthouse, so maybe he had been somewhere else, so he was staying there. Okay. So after the 3rd year, it so happened that in one November afternoon, a timid girl of 12 arrived at his door. So a small girl of 12 years was very shy. Okay. So she comes, or she came to this man's house, or not exactly a house, but the lighthouse in which he was staying. And what did she have in her hand? She held an injured bird in her hand. That means she had come there for a reason. Okay. Now, why had she brought the bird to this particular man, to Philip Rader? Was because the bird was injured. That means it had been shot. Okay. It had been shot by a hunter's gun. And this small girl by the name of Frida, she knew that this gentleman, or let's say Philip Rader, he had some magical powers which could heal the injured birds. But this little girl was very afraid, because she might have often heard about him, isn't it? This Philip Rader, who lived all by himself, who was a hunchback, and maybe because of his appearance also people were very scared of him. So though she did have fear in him, isn't it? So sometimes also now what happens is, if you see a stranger, or if there is a person with some amount of deformity, we do not go and talk to that person right away, isn't it? But what do? Maybe we'll think once, twice, and then only if the others are talking to those type of people, we go and talk to them. But here now, Frida had no other option. Now since she had been holding that injured bird in her hand, now she had to approach Philip Rader, isn't it? And some of them used to call him ogre also. Ogre means a giant who used to feed on human beings. Now she overcame her fear. Why? Because she had to give treatment to the wounded bird. Now she could not treat the bird all by herself, but she had to take it to Philip Rader. Okay. Now when she presented the bird, or when she went on explaining as to what had happened to the bird, so she was now fearless. Now she was no longer scared of that strange looking individual, because she had to heal the bird, isn't it? Or she had to get the bird cured. And then now Philip Rader, now he examines the bird. He takes him inside, okay, inside his house, and then when he starts talking to Frida, now Frida feels that he is not at all a very frightening individual because he had a gentle voice. Only his appearance was frightful, but when he was talking, he was very gentle to the little girl. And then he goes inside and he examines the bird. And then since he had full knowledge about the different birds, because he himself had owned a sanctuary, now this man, Philip Rader, tells Frida that the bird was from Canada. So it had flown all the way from Canada, and since it was caught in a storm, so whichever route it was supposed to take, it had taken another route, and especially during the winters. Now what happens is, these birds, they do not remain in their original place, so they try to go to warmer places, so they fly off to warmer places. So it so happened this Snow Goose also, maybe it was flying with the rest of its family, and it was caught in a storm. Now since it was caught in a storm, maybe his route was diverted, and then it fell, okay, a victim to a hunter's gun. And then when Philip Rader goes on examining the bird, okay, he finds out that there was some injuries to the bird. Some injuries had been made to the bird. And then what happens is, Philip Rader goes on taking good care of the bird, okay. And now Frida, she often visits or makes a visit to Philip Rader's place, okay. Now let's have a look at how Frida looked like. So when she came, she had come with a bird in her hand. What sort of bird? An injured bird, okay. That was the Snow Goose. Now she had no other option. She had to heal the bird, isn't it? She had to get the bird cured. Now since she could not heal the bird herself, so she had taken it to Philip Rader. That means the hunchback, okay, the hunchback man, because she knew that he had some magical powers which could heal the bird. Now, every time Frida used to pay a visit to Philip Rader, because the bird was being treated by Philip Rader. Philip Rader knew that what were the medicines to be applied, is it? Whether bandages were to be applied, whether medicines were to be applied, is it? Or maybe some extra help was supposed to be given to the bird. Now she often visited Philip Rader. So now when Frida became a regular visitor to Philip Rader's, okay, Philip Rader's lighthouse, now a friendship developed among these two individuals, isn't it? So in the same way, when we have friends or when we make new friends, what happens is all of a sudden we do not go on talking, but slowly, step by step, we go on talking to each other. So you will start knowing about each other, isn't it? Then you start caring about each other. Then you talk about your hobbies, isn't it? Or maybe your lives, or maybe your families. And slowly what happens is the friendship among the two friends start developing. So here also now Philip Rader, who had been living a secluded life or a solitary life. Solitary means leading a life all by himself. But now when Frida comes with the injured bird, what happens is now a friendship is developed among the two individuals. Maybe two of them together were taking care of the bird. Two of them were applying medicines to each other. Two of them were seeing whether the bird was making any progress or whether there was any improvement in the health. And it was not only the friendship between Philip Rader and Frida, but a friendship developed among the three. That means the Snow Goose also. Because many a times you have seen, isn't it? Many of you might be having pets at home. So when you take good care of the pet, what happens is the pet in return, isn't it, might be showing loyalty to you. Or maybe it comes and cuddles on your feet, isn't it? So some sort of relation is also developed among the human beings as well as the animals. So here also we can see the three of them had developed a very strong friendship among the three. And what happens is, especially sometimes when you give help to a particular individual, when you show your kindness or when you show your gentleness to some other individual. So in return also you are going to get the same type of treatment. I think you all have noticed, isn't it? So if you are good to the others will also be good to you. So here also now Frida, isn't it? So as soon as she saw Philip, she did not say, oh, I am scared of you, now I am going to run away. She did not say that. But what did she do? She went ahead, isn't it? She gave the wounded bird to Philip Rader so that it can be treated, so that it could be taken good care of, so that it becomes well again. Okay, so now there was a very strong friendship among these three. Okay, so now when there is friendship among the three, now maybe now Philip Rader's life might also have been changed. Now he must have started feeling very happy because he had someone to talk to, because the rest of the years or the rest of the life which he was leading before, maybe it was a life of loneliness where he did not have anyone to talk to. The birds will not talk to them, isn't it? So he was leading a very solitary life. But now when Frida comes in his life, now his life might have changed. Now he must have said, now I am also accepted, isn't it? I am not a very bad person. So I am also a good person. That's why this little girl Frida came with a wounded bird, because she had faith in me, isn't it? She had trust in me. So especially in a friendship, the trust, the faith is also very, very important. So if Frida did not have trust, if Frida did not have faith in Philip Rader, I don't think so she would have brought the bird to him. But maybe she had heard some people say that he has some healing powers, or maybe he is able to heal the wounded bird. So she had brought the bird before him. So trust and faith is very important in friendship. And in the same way, the Snow Goose was also taken good care of, isn't it? So if Rader had not taken care of the Snow Goose, maybe it would have already died. But it examined it, it had a look at whatever injuries it had. So according to it, the treatment was given to the Snow Goose. Okay, and then finally the Snow Goose was able to gain its health. Now it became healthy once again. Okay, and till the Snow Goose was getting healed, now Frida was a frequent visitor to the lighthouse. That means at least Philip Rader had some company, isn't he? He had someone to talk to. So this way he was out of his loneliness, isn't he? He came out of his loneliness, and then he was able to talk to Frida. And now Frida was also very gentle towards Philip Rader, because maybe in the beginning she might have heard that he's giant, a man-eating giant, or an ogre, isn't it? Or an ogre. But the fear, she had overcome all her fear, okay, because of this small goose who was injured. But now what happened was, slowly the goose was gaining her health. Now she was becoming normal. Before maybe it was limping because the feet was also injured, or maybe her wings were also injured. She was unable to flap her wings. But since a lot of care was taken so that she regains her health, now she was able to fly also. She was able to flap her wings also, and at the same time she was able to walk. So she was among the other birds. She was being fed along with the other birds. That means the Snow Goose also had company. When it came, it was also all alone, and it was found by Frida, isn't it? Because it had been shot by the hunter's gun. But now when it was kept in the sanctuary, or when it was kept in the care of Philip Rader, now the Snow Goose also had company. Maybe other birds were also there, isn't it? Now she also had a company. Maybe Snow Goose had also developed friendship among the rest of the birds as well, isn't it? So when you have friends, or when you are among your friends, what happens is you come out of your loneliness. You never feel lonely, isn't it? So you can share your thoughts, you can share your feelings, you can share your sorrows, you can share your joys with the others. That means you enjoy being in the company of your beings. So right now, since the lockdown is there, so most of you might be feeling very sad. Why? Because you are not able to meet your friends, isn't it? Maybe you used to go and play with your friends, or maybe you used to go out for outings with your friends, but now because of the lockdown, they are going on saying you are supposed to stay at home, you are supposed to stay safe, isn't it? So many of you might have been having that particular feeling, but you can get connected with your friends, with the you have your phone, isn't it? You can talk to your friends, you can chat with your friends. At least you will not feel lonely. At least you have someone to talk to. Okay. Now, however, on June morning, that means the bird was brought in the month of November. Okay. Now many months have already passed, and now it was June morning. Now, what Frida saw was, now Frida saw the goose flying. So one June morning, what happens is, Frida sees that the snow goose is flying in the air, and it was healthy and well. So maybe other days also it was trying to fly, but maybe it still had some pain in its wings, so it was unable to fly. But one day in the month of June, what Frida sees is the snow goose flying. So it was flying high in the air. So it seemed to look very healthy. It seemed to look very fine. Okay, and she went and called for Rader. So please come see what is. Let us see what is the goose doing now. It is there up in the air. It is flying in the air. Okay, and then both of them, Rader and Frida, they bid farewell to the snow goose, because the snow goose also has to go and meet or go to meet its family, isn't it? It cannot live its life in isolation, so it has to go and meet its family, or it has to go and meet the rest of the group, isn't it? So it flew away, and then the two individuals, Rader and Frida, they bid farewell to the snow goose, and the snow goose leaves them and disappears into the air. Okay, and then what happened was, now Frida also stopped coming to the lighthouse, because the only connection which Frida had with the lighthouse was because of the snow goose, isn't it? She had to come and check whether the snow goose was gaining health or not. But now, since the snow goose flew away, now Frida also stopped coming to the lighthouse. Now what happened was, Rader once again felt very lonely. Again he started to live a life of loneliness, again a solitary life, because he did not have Frida coming over to his place anymore, because the snow goose had flown away. Okay, and then he comes back to his first life which he was leading, a life of loneliness. Okay, so here from this particular story, now what we have learned is friendship. Okay, the bond of friendship is very, very essential, or you have to have friends. It's not necessary that you have to have millions of friends or thousands of friends, but at least 2 or 3 friends, so that you can share your sorrows with, so that you can share your joys with, isn't it? So that you will not feel lonely, so that you will not felt unwanted, so that you will not felt that you are all by yourself.